So the Green Bay Packers minicamp starts this week. This is a 3-day event, 2 days of practice today and tomorrow, and then typically a team building event on day 3. We saw the last couple of weeks the Packers go through OTAs. We saw some clips from those practices as well as what happened during those practices. But today is a little bit different. Minicamp is mandatory. Now, there are a few players with excused absences. Jair Alexander, Xavier McKinney, and Keyshawn Nixon being the 3 with excused absences. But nonetheless, it's a Green Bay Packers practice that has media availability. So you know what that means. We have some highlights to react to and break down. If you happen to be a new viewer to the channel, firstly, welcome to the channel. And secondly, I post videos such as this, highlights from every practice that's open to the media for the Green Bay Packers. And I'll also put out a keynotes video going over what happened during the team portions of today's practice right after this one. So if that does interest you, definitely go down and click subscribe. I believe about 50% of my viewers are not subscribed, so I'd greatly appreciate it. It's free to do if you simply went down and clicked the subscribe button. Thank you guys a bunch. So let's waste no more time and dive right into the clips we have from today. And we have a decent amount of them. Shout out to all the media members. I'll put all their links down in the description below that record these clips that are at practice. Again, shout out to them. Their links are down in the description. So let's get this thing started with the first clip is going to be Jordan Love throwing a speed dig to Romeo Doubs here in the middle there. You also see Jayden Reed running an out route. I've said it time and time again. I'm so excited for this wide receiver room. There's a lot of argument going around that, oh, the Packers don't have a true #1 wide receiver. And the rebuttal to that is, you know, I'd rather have like 3 to 4 solid number 2 wide receivers than just one #1 wide receiver. I think this Packers wide receiver room just has so much depth. And honestly, any of these guys week in, week out could be the top wide receiver. Like 1 week it could be Romeo Doubs, then Christian Watson. You know, 1 week it could be Bo Melton. That's all on the table. 100%. There's so much talent in this wide receiver room. And Romeo Doubs, man, coming off a very solid, you know, playoff performance against the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, the routes he was running that day, man, it was absolutely insane. So hoping for a big year from Romeo Doubs here in year 3. Speaking of wide receivers, here's another clip of Jordan Love throwing a hitch route to Malik Heath on the outside here. Now, he's a wide receiver that maybe won't be our leading receiver one of the weeks, but he's an excellent role player. He's a guy that can come in, week out, go out there, make plays when needed, but more importantly, block on run plays. We know how much the Packers love their blocking type of wide receivers. We saw it so much with Allen Lazard. And if these type of receivers can get out there and block well and, you know, allow this offense to have a better running game, they're going to get more opportunities on the field. That's 100% certain. And I think the Packers really like Malik Heath. Right now, he's wide receiver 6, but that's not saying he's like the 6th best guy or he's going to get the 6th most snaps on this offense. I mean, like, again, as I said in the last clip, there's just so much depth there. Here we have a clip of tight end Luke Musgrave coming out of a tight end stance to do a curl here. Again, still looking like a wide receiver. It's still crazy. I know there's no pads on, but this guy truly moves like a wide receiver. And I'm very excited for year 2 of both of these tight ends. Now, Tucker Kraft still isn't practicing. The hope is that he'll be ready during training camp, but there was an advancement today that he is out of his arm sling, so that's a good progression there for Tucker Kraft. But Luke Musgrave, very excited for year 2. Hopefully he can have a full, healthy year 2, not deal with some of the injuries he had like last year, and really start to build that continuity, build the chemistry with Love. Here's Jayden Reed running a hitch route for Jordan Love on the outside. I feel like Jayden Reed is tied for my favorite wide receiver on the Green Bay Packers right now and who I think will do the best in 2024 with Dontavian Wick. And I know some people might think that's crazy to say. I don't. Just because, one, I know Christian Watson's ability, but can he stay on the field? Romeo Doubs is consistent, but doesn't put up like 100-yard games after another, where I feel like Jayden Reed and Tay Wicks, both of those guys could end up doing that. Tay Wicks has so much talent. Jayden Reed offers so much to this offense as that slot wide receiver, not only in the receiving game, but obviously in the running game. We saw him, you know, utilizing that running game so much last season. After like the draft pick and doing my research on Jayden Reed, watching the tape, man, I knew this guy was going to be a terrific weapon for this offense. And, you know, he held true to that in 2023. So really excited for 2024 for honestly just all these wide receivers, if I'm being honest. Here's an offensive line clip, and it's Rasheed Walker doing a blocking drill against pretty much every other offensive lineman. We still see Royce Newman out there. I don't see that lasting much longer. I made a video on Donovan Jennings and how I see him, taking pretty much Royce Newman's spot. They can save $3.1 million by cutting Royce Newman, and Donovan Jennings is probably better than Royce Newman at this point. He's one of the undrafted free agents I see definitely making this roster. But back to Rasheed Walker, a guy fighting for his left tackle spot, and a lot of people aren't sold on Rasheed Walker. I'm not one of them. I'm pretty sold on Rasheed Walker. I still want competition there, of course. I mean, they just drafted a first-round guy that can play left tackle, so I'm glad for the competition. But, man, it's going to be an awesome training camp to watch this offensive line, come together and see who becomes the starting five or the top five on this offensive line. And personally, I think Rasheed Walker is one of the top five, and that probably means Jordan Morgan year one likely plays right guard or sits for a little bit, because I do believe Rasheed Walker down the stretch last season played really, really well at left tackle. Now, I know some may disagree with me, but for a second-year player, a 7th-round draft selection, he impressed me. Here's a clip of A.J. Dillon. Looks like he made a helmet switch as well. Definitely a different helmet there. I like the look, and A.J. Dillon also looks a lot leaner, and I talked about this in the last video. We also see Josh Jacobs doing the same drill, man. So excited for this running back room. I mean, A.J. Dillon just looks quicker on his feet. He looks leaner, but also more muscular at the same time. A.J. Dillon's been putting in a ton of work this offseason, and we know the type of contract he signed with the Packers, where it was, not really any guaranteed money, and he simply wanted to stay in Green Bay no matter what, and he'll do anything to help out the team, and he's a true team player, and I'm hyped for A.J. Dillon in this season. I think he's definitely going to improve on some of his issues from last season. But more importantly, Josh Jacobs, the new running back one of the Green Bay Packers, he's been looking good so far through OTAs. He got over a hamstring issue, but looks like he's completely fine. And man, they have two running backs that I don't think anyone in the league wants to tackle. Here's A.J. Dillon again, but working on a pass protection drill here against all of the other running backs. Now, pass protection was something A.J. Dillon, one of his struggle points in 2023, actually graded at a 56.6 in pass protection for running backs. He was better in previous years, but definitely struggled with that in 2023. So it's good to see the Packers working on this here for both A.J. Dillon, and the next clip we'll see Josh Jacobs doing the same thing. If A.J. Dillon can get this down and become a great pass blocker, he could definitely get on the field more, because we know the Packers love their running backs that can pass block. Here's the same drill, but Josh Jacobs running it, kind of throwing A.J. Dillon off to the side there at first, which is pretty impressive. Josh Jacobs was pretty bad in pass protection in 2023, had a worse grade than A.J. Dillon at a 50.9. So again, really nice to see them working on this here. Again, it's very important for Packers running backs to be able to pass block. Here's a quick clip of 2nd-round pick Javon Bullard at safety, just running through some walkthroughs here, nothing crazy, but I wanted to include this clip because I just released a video yesterday going over some tape review of Javon Bullard and what he's going to bring to this new Packers Jeff Hafley defense, and why he is a perfect fit. And he's going to get a lot of looks these 2 days in minicamp with Xavier McKinney out. Likely will be the starter next to Anthony Johnson Jr. in 11v11, so he's going to get a lot of looks today. They've already been kind of moving him around from safety to nickel, so it's nice to see them already, experimenting with that, because he can do so much in a defense. He could play box, he could play deep, he could play in the nickel. The guy can come up and make a hit. He's very good in coverage as well, so excited to see him this offseason. Another safety that's going to get plenty of looks during these 2 days at minicamp is Evan Williams. With McKinney out, Oladapo's still in rehab, so Oladapo hasn't begun practicing yet. So Evan Williams going to get a lot of looks as well, whether that's at box or deep next to, say, Javon Bullard or Anthony Johnson Jr. Another rookie the Packers, traded up for, so they really like him. I think he offers a lot of versatility as well. And I think all these guys they drafted on defense, man, they can simply run and hit. Next, we have a quick clip of Isaiah McDuffie hitting the sled here, and then basically a tackle drill on, I think that was Eric Wilson at the end there. Interested to see the snap counts of all these linebackers come week one. Switching to a 4-3, inherently you have more off-ball linebackers, but I'm interested to see how much they play base, and not only that, when they're nickel, who those two guys are, whether that's on an early down or a second down, who those two linebackers are, or if they're in base 4-3, who the 3 starting linebackers are. My guess is it's going to be Quay, McDuffie, and Cooper to start the year. But if they go into nickel and they need 2 linebackers out there, it'll probably be Quay and Cooper. But again, if they're in, say, a running situation, maybe Isaiah McDuffie is out there. For the last clip, we have rookie Edgerrin Cooper doing the same drill. Very excited for him. If you guys know my channel, you know I was, basically spotlighting Edgerrin Cooper the whole draft process. I believe outside of Oladapo, he was the highest mocked player, the most mocked player I had to the Green Bay Packers because the fit made so much sense for the Packers switching to 4-3. You already have Quay Walker in the building. You lost Devondre Campbell, bringing another extreme athlete, sideline to sideline linebacker that can hit, can cover, can do it all, and is extremely explosive. Was such an awesome thought to add to this defense. So I'm so glad the Packers did indeed draft him there in the 2nd round. Traded down, got extra value, and still got their guy in Edgerrin Cooper. So those are all the clips I have from day 1 of Packers minicamp. Again, you can't film during team sessions, 11v11, 7v7s. I wish you could because we'd all love to watch those clips as well. But that's simply not the case. We'll get some of them during training camp because that's open to the public and people just film it. So shout out to you guys that do that. But for the sessions like OTAs and minicamp that's only open to media, obviously those guys can't film it because they'll lose their credentials. But I do appreciate you guys coming by to the video. Again, I'll release the recap of today's practice right after this, so be on the lookout for that video, as well as tomorrow. We'll be doing the same thing. We'll go over highlights from the practice as well as takeaways after the practice. So be on the lookout for that. Turn on post notifications to not miss any of the videos. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Packers.